What's up guys? As you probably have heard, Colombia right now is in a state of unrest and violence. And I just wanted to take some time to talk about everything that is going on, because right now I just really don't feel like talking about languages and culture and my usual content, because we right here in Colombia are in a really tense ambience and I feel like it's important for me to express what's going on right now. As many of you know, I am originally from Colombia but I live in the United States, and because of the pandemic I hadn't been able to visit my family for over 2 years, and being far away is really hard. The main reason I'm here right now in Colombia is to see my grandma. My time with her is always a blast. And I knew this time was gonna be very different to all of my visits. A lot of things have changed in Colombia right now. And in the United States, it may seem that the pandemic is coming to an end, but here in Colombia, that's not the case. I came right in the middle of the third peak of the pandemic. ICUs were full in Bogota and there were lots of restrictions, so I understood it was gonna be a different time. But I really didn't understand what was gonna happen. Only 2 days after I arrived, there were calls for a massive protest against a tax reform that was very painful, because it would essentially raise taxes on the lower and middle classes in the middle of a pandemic, when a lot of people are out of work, when a lot of people are starving. And I mean, it's just really hard because we know there is a lot of corruption in this country and they always tax higher on poor people. And the protests were amazing. Colombians are always very creative. They involve a wide group of people, from indigenous groups to students, and they did amazing things like going on tight ropes, or there was even a performing orchestra, there was music, songs, really pushing the heart of the Colombian people during these difficult times. And there were of course some isolated cases of vandalism, mainly from a few desperate young people. And of course there are all kinds of things going on social media. These are infiltrated people, and I don't want to spread misinformation here. I just want to say that a lot of the people were focusing on these acts of vandalism, ignoring the reality of the country and the desperation that people are going through, and also ignoring the fact that most of the protests were very peaceful. Of course, I don't support any kind of violence, but I want to acknowledge that the protests were much more than these random acts of violence. And then there was the response by the police. And let me tell you, most of my family, they were members of the police. We grew up with the police, and the police gave me a lot. They gave me education, health, and I know it's an institution full of great programs and full of amazing individuals, but the response of some of the police officers to this protest has been really disappointing. The police, who are really poor people themselves, who would be affected by this tax reform as well, ordered by the elites, they committed acts of murder and torture against common citizens, and this is just unacceptable. I am happy to see many officers who quit the forces because of what's going on, or who protested against it, but I'm also again very disappointed for the response that they had against the citizens. At the beginning of May, less than a week after the protest started, the Duque government, our president, they backed down on the tax reform. However, to this day the protests are still going, and you may ask why. Well, as I said before, my country's economy is crippled. There is poverty in the streets, there are people that have nothing, and yes, the pandemic has had a big part on it, but even before the pandemic there was a lot of poverty and violence in Colombia, and poor people, young people, the middle class, they just cannot make it anymore. Throughout my entire life, we have had governments that are extremely corrupt, that create policies that only benefit a few rich Colombians or people abroad, and that sadly connect with criminal groups to keep poor people down. The protests that keep going right now are mainly asking for police reform after what happened in the initial protests, where the police responds with such brutality and is still responding with brutality that is truly illegal, and also for the stopping on privatization of health, which would further cripple this country into a devastating time of poverty and desperation. The ambient right now is really tense in my country. There is an unfixable breach between police and civilians. People are really anxious, people are fearing violence, people don't know what's really gonna happen next. There are a lot of armed groups on the streets, and things are just not feeling too great. My friends keep telling me that there is no future here. They are just thinking of ways that they can leave the country, and it's really painful to see that. This at the same time is having a really heavy toll on the mental health of all of my friends and cousins. I can see it. They are not getting enough sleep. They are engaging in anxious behavior, and it's just important for us to talk about this. I honestly must say that I'm glad I'm in Colombia rather than in the US right now, because I'm able to decompress and really talk to family and really get a sense of what's going on. Sometimes you go out in the streets and it feels like things are normal, but then you talk to people and you really feel the anxiety. And of course there are some areas of the city where there is really unrest going on. The things in Cali are very difficult right now. So yeah, I just wanted to have this opportunity to share how I'm feeling and to share what's going on here. Something that breaks my heart is the silence of the international community. I know there were a few mentions in articles here and there, but they are just glossing over and ignoring a lot of the things that are happening here, which is really sad, because I feel like Colombia is isolated, kind of in an island, and like nobody knows what is going on here, or they just assume it's something normal that happens in this country when it's not. So yeah, today I don't feel like talking about languages and cultures. I just wanted to share my feelings. I wanted to share kind of my take on what's going on. I don't mean to be political. I just fear for my people. I just fear for the future of my country, of my family that I have here, of my friends, people I love, people I deeply care about. And yeah, I want to encourage you to not forget about Colombia, to stay tuned to the things that are going on here, and denounce any crime from any part, because ultimately peace is the way that we can build a better country, and I hope we can get there. Well guys, and stay tuned. I'm really hopeful that things are gonna get better, and I'm working hard for it with family and friends. So stay tuned for more videos about culture, language, and I hope to share more about Colombia during my time here. Love you guys, thank you for the support. Hasta la vista.